everyone. We are back. Welcome to the long-awaited return of Biters, the unofficial podcast of The Walking Dead and all things zombie. I am one of your hosts, Jeff Marsick, and with me on the other side of Skype is the man who can do anything with a pencil and pen, Kirk Manley.
What's up, folks? I know for a long time you thought we would never be back. These guys are one-hit wonders.
So we were 2 weeks ago. We were at Walker Stalker Con in Boston, and we met a bunch of people who were like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your podcast. Yeah." But it came up in at least two comments that were, people said, "Oh, we love your podcast because The Walking Dead comes out on Sunday." And we listen to so-and-so's podcast on Monday, and then so-and-so's podcast comes out on Tuesday, and then we don't know when the hell your podcast comes out. So when it does come out, it's like Christmas. It's like a big surprise. We're like, oh my God, it's Biters. So
I couldn't believe it. There were absolutely two people, who, at least two, I think there were more than that brought that to our attention. But it was great. They saw it as positive.
I know. At least they were like, "Oh, you guys suck."
Awesome. We don't know when it's coming. It's always such. I look at the feed and boom, there it is. All right, it's another Biters.
Awesome. Well, we had totally planned on doing one last week.
Yep.
And it was so. So I get this text from, I think it was a text from you, like Thursday. We'll do it Thursday. So I said okay, and I let it go. It didn't say Thursday night.
That was Kirk, like on Monday, I think.
Yeah. That. So we're going to do the pilot. We're going to talk about Fear the Walking Dead. We're going to do this pilot. I sent a text to Kirk on 6 o'clock on Thursday. Okay, hey, 9 o'clock, good for you. Kirk sends me back this picture from the U.S. Open in Connecticut. The tennis tournament. Going, well, it's going to be kind of hard to do it courtside.
It was actually the Connecticut Open, not the U.S. Open.
Oh, sorry.
We had some special tickets for my son who's really into tennis, and it was his birthday present, so it kind of came up out of nowhere and caught me by surprise. So
me too.
I kind of screwed things up. So my apologies.
So anyway, like I said, 2 weeks ago we were at the Walker Stalker Con in Boston. It was a good show. We got to meet
a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Crazy. You did New York Walker Stalker last year.
Yeah.
This is my first foray into Walker Stalker. So, but I'm used to comic book conventions like New York and San Diego and stuff, where you get a lot of guests and whatnot. But I was amazed at the number of people they had as stars, and even I don't want to denigrate them, but the minor characters on the show that they had signing here. I mean, it was pretty.
Hold on. I have to go online and look up denigrate.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. No, I agree. I mean, I think the Walker Stalker cons have become really unique in the sense that they offer such access to the stars of the show that I mean, maybe there are other phenomena or other shows that have had this kind of phenomena, but you don't get that kind of access at San Diego even when they're there. You don't get that kind of access at New York Comic Con even when they're there. Even when rock star comic book people are signing at publishers' booths, you can't get that kind of access. And the shows aren't set up to support that. You get the lines that go around the table, and they're unorganized, and it's a mess. And sometimes you wait hours and hours and hours. These shows are totally orchestrated to give the average fan quick and fairly simple and easy access to these stars in a way that I've just never seen. And
you got to go.
I applaud them.
Yeah, you got to go into a couple of people's lines and meet them.
Well, I wanted to since we brought this up, I wanted to thank Twitter follower Celtic who's also a big fan of the show, and for a couple things. One is that his real name is Thomas, and he was at the show. He goes to a lot of these and has a lot of experience with them, and he has the VIP pass. And we wanted to go around and see if we could meet some of the stars and get intros done for us, like we did with Josh McDermott, and last season. And he was great. He took a big chunk of time and walked all around with me, and let me get in the VIP lines with him. And as a result, I got to meet Shaniqua Green and Cudlitz again, and Chandler Riggs and Brighton Sabino, and Charbino, and she did in fact do a intro for us. Got to meet Josh again, and
he remembered you too by name, didn't he?
Yeah. He was really, really nice guy, and so that was real. Hats off to Celtic Soap for that. We appreciate that, and also,
I just gotta give a shout out to him as well, because after I got there, it was 2-day conference, so I got there Saturday night, and for the longest time he's been holding on to this bottle of Macallan Scotch, this rare cask, and to his credit, much more strength than I would have had. For like 6 months he's had this thing, and
well, it's hilarious because on Twitter he's been posting, pictures every couple of weeks of different Walking Dead figures that he has that are guarding that scotch for you. So it was
well worth. I shared it with them, and Thomas, if you're listening, I still thank you very much. It was very good.
And speaking of the little figures, he also came and hooked me up with, I don't know, a while back I posted, because at New York Walker Stalker, I picked up one of the little Michonne figures. I think they're by Funko. I'm not positive, but it's a little tiny one, and it doesn't come with the pets, but you can get the pets separately. But it's one of those things where they're the little surprise boxes. You have no idea what you're getting.
Right.
So I've kind of decided I wasn't going to go through all that expense to try and find the two pets. So he, I guess, is a collector of those things and saw online when I posted it and said that you need those, and he had lots of extras from having bought lots of them to try and get the full collection. So he brought me a little bag which had all these different characters, including the two pets. But now I've got Daryl and Rick, and it's awesome. So nice. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. So Boston was awesome. I would say compared to New York, the Boston Walker Stalker Con is close, but definitely more people at New York. Definitely a larger phenomena. Second, it's in a hotel, and as a result, they spread it out over 3 rooms. I think it was 3 different rooms. So in some ways, I think there was some benefit to that if you're attending, because it diluted each room a little bit. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people were in transit between rooms.
Let's say, just to interrupt you, it's not so much that it's in different rooms; it's that it's one room on one side of the hotel. You got to go up an escalator, across the lobby, down an escalator to the other side. So you got a whole hotel caught in the middle.
But and Thomas is one of the ones who pointed out that it made for things to be a little less crowded in terms of attendees' experience. From a vendor's experience, it diluted it a little bit, and there wasn't the sense that you were being seen by everybody. Whereas in New York, it's a large single room. It's like a racetrack design, so everybody is sure to come by your booth at some point. So. But just two very different experiences, but both of them awesome. And my hat's off to the Walker Stalker people. I think that they just do an amazing job and have created a true phenomena. Out of this, it's the show itself is a phenomena, but the Walker Stalker shows have become their own phenomena with the cosplay and the vendors and the access to the stars. And it's just, they had this amazing, I didn't get to do it, but a couple of people that told us about it, that was set up right next to us. So that actual 3D, was it not 3D? It was laser tag version of the Apocalypse system. You went in a room and you actually had a rifle that worked like a laser, and you had to hit the zombies in the head, and they were real zombies would coming right at you. And I guess it was super awesome. So
and apparently everybody who went in was prepped beforehand. Okay, when you walk into this room, it's going to be pretty intense. So when someone playing a zombie is on the floor, reaching up to you, don't rifle butt them in the head. It's just let it go. So I had 2 friends come on Sunday, and they brought their kids that are roughly 6 and 9, and they went into that, and
Totally unprepared.
apparently it's pretty intense, and both kids come out just like bawling, tears coming
Oh
down their face.
man,
But just as
see the therapy bills now.
but just as a plug, follow anybody listening to this. Follow Thomas. He's at Celtic, as in the basketball team, Celtic TSO. So follow him on Twitter because he's hooked up, and I think he's doing the cruise as well, the Walking Dead.
He's
cruise.
doing the cruise, and we've also been in talks with him. He is an avid collector of all things Walking Dead, and we're talking to him about doing a segment on the show when we get back to the regular season. I don't know if it'll be a call in or he'll record it separately or whatever, but we're looking at maybe adding this segment that would be about Walking Dead merchandise and collectibles and stuff like that. It'd be something short, but new, whatever's new and hot in that genre. So let's see what else. Oh, the other thing is I created prints of all of the season 5 art. And they were very popular at Walker Stalker. And if anybody is looking to pick up any of that, to follow me on Twitter and DM me or send me a message, and we'll work it out. Let's see, what else?
Yeah, it was funny seeing people come up for looking at the prints, and they got caught between, oh, that one looks really good. Ooh, but that one too. And they'd buy one, and we wouldn't see them. So they made their choice, whatever, they disappear, and then they come back the next day. Oh, I've been thinking about this one all night. I gotta get this one too. I don't know if you had mentioned, and probably people who follow us on Facebook know this, but Kirk did the artwork he did the official poster for last year's New York, but he also did the Boston one that we were just at. And are we allowed to say that you're doing this year's New York?
Yes, I will be doing the official poster for New York as well, and I'm really excited about that. The last year's was a big success, and got a lot of great feedback from that, and hoping I can do the same for this year. So if you come, definitely going to want to check that out. And as soon as it's done and able to be posted, I'll be sure to post it up.
All right, we got anything else before?
A couple of things. Did you see the article that they're going to do an airline zombie attack in standalone specials?
Yes,
standalone special.
Zombies on a plane.
Zombies on a plane.
You think they're going to get Samuel L. to do that one?
That would be awesome. Let's see. I've got a brief review here, or the article on it from Entertainment Weekly. It was posted August 28th. Let's see. What if an episode of The Walking Dead was set on a passenger airline before civilization had fallen? That's basically what AMC is planning in a highly unusual, if not totally unprecedented, new special that's set during the time period of the hit drama's companion series, Fear the Walking Dead. Here's the plan. EW has exclusively learned AMC is producing a half-hour special that will tell a standalone story following a group of passengers facing a walker attack on an airline while in flight. One character who survives that encounter will then join the cast of Fear the Walking Dead in Season 2.
Ooh.
So yes, zombies on a plane. So that's pretty funny. I don't know if it's explained here, but I did read in another article that they would break it up, and I think they're going to... I don't want to read the whole article. It's an Entertainment Weekly article, but I think what I read, correct me if you've heard differently, but they're going to do it in little installments during commercial breaks, and over the season until they've told the whole story. And in total, it's about a 30-minute story. So I don't know how long those little snips will be. I don't know if there'll be more than one per episode. I don't know any of those details. What's your feeling on it? I have some opinion on this. What's your opinion on
it? It's, for me, you read something like that, you're kind of like, oh, geez, we've jumped the shark. It's so
they're milking it.
Yeah. You got to figure, though, it is a genius idea to run it during the commercial breaks because, with DVRs and fast forwarding. I think that's.
They're trying to help the advertisers.
That definitely has to help advertising.
Well, I'll tell you, my first reaction was the same. Was like, oh, they're just trying to milk it and everything, and I'm sure there's that part of it. But and the ratings numbers, as you'll go over, have been great for Fear the Walking Dead. So they can't go out and do a third series right away, right?
Right.
So what are they going to do to strike while the iron's hot? And the other thing is that I like the potential. It doesn't mean I'm going to like how this is done, but there's potential here. You've got this story that's based very closely to the comic in the main series. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, you can tell other stories as they have, but it has to take place realistically within that world. Mm-hmm. And within that theme, and allow them to continue to tell the story of the comic. Now you've created this other show, Fear the Walking Dead, that takes place in the same universe, same everything else, but it shows what's happening in an urban setting, okay, and kind of a little bit different take on it. They don't have to follow the plan of the book as much, but they still have to abide by those rules and everything else. But they're going to be limited to showing what takes place in an urban setting. That leaves lots of other stories, zombie stories, to be told.
Right.
What about in frozen parts of what about in Canada? What about, in, Tibet and stuff like that? What about in a plane? What about on a cabin cruiser? This happened simultaneously across the globe.
Dude, I told you
tons of great stories that they
Zombie
can't
Love
tell.
Boat. Zombie Love Boat is if someone does not hit that one up, I mean, that is perfect.
I want the X-rated one of those. But you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a great idea because it's like in some ways because it's going to allow them to tell stories outside of the world that they're restricted to within the two shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the shows are done in a linear way, which I love. But they don't jump around. They're not going to tell a story in LA and New York and Texas and Canada and Russia and China all at the same time. It's not Sense8.
Oh my gosh.
We won't even get into that, but so I like it. I'm excited about it. I hope they don't screw it up. But
I tell you what I wrote on the Facebook page. Zombies on a plane, zombie snakes on a plane make Sharknado. I mean, that just might blow the internet up.
that would break my TV. Let's see. One other article from Screen Rant. Now, this, I guess this would be under the heading of spoilers. So, spoiler alert. So, if you're at all concerned about stuff happening, learning about things that could happen in season 6, you're going to want to zip ahead.
Yeah, but it's still speculation.
Yeah, it's speculation, but it's pretty good speculation. So from Screen Rant back in July, let's see, it was an interview with Scott Gimple. Let's see, Screen Rant wrote, while a fair amount of insight has been given into the wolves and their brutal methods, many comic fans are anxiously awaiting the debut of 2 characters, Paul Monroe, a.k.a. Jesus, and Negan. Well, it looks at least like Negan could show his face in Season 6. While discussing Season 6 of The Walking Dead with EW, showrunner Scott Gimple said, quote, it's absolutely a possibility. When asked whether or not Negan could make his, quote, presence felt by the season finale, Gimple further elaborated, explaining that they absolutely want to eventually bring the character into the MC show. It's just a matter of how. And when I say it's a possibility, we have a plan in place, but there's a couple variables for that plan that we're deciding about. It really depends on a few factors as we move into setting up the last bit of the season story-wise. So,
well, you and I have speculated that Negan comes in at the end of season 6.
Yeah, I actually thought it was going to be later, but a lot of people are speculating season 6, the end of the season, and this would seem to give credence to that or support to that. But I'm still not convinced. It seems like there's still a lot that has to be done first. I mean, in terms of the comic, unless they change the timeline a little bit, from the comic, and that's possible.
Which they could, yeah, or they could. There's a lot that happens in the comic time-wise that you can just compress. That you have the flexibility with TV to compress what what could be 10 issues in a comic, you can compress to an issue or one episode of TV.
Right.
So
that's true too. But I mean, they got to deal with the whole wolves thing that they've set up, which I think was to give a better, more explainable rationale for the zombie horde that crashes the walls.
Well, and the other thing too is that
and I don't think they're just going to set that up and have it, knock those pits down in one episode.
Yeah, pull a terminus. Yeah, no, you can't do that again. You got to play this whole wolves thing out.
Right, and then you have to be introduced to the idea that there's. See, I assumed this wolves thing was going to be the whole first half of this season, and then the second half of the season would be the introduction of the bigger world. The fact that there are other communities and that they are interconnected a little bit, and Jesus is the one that exposes them to that, just as it did in the book. And then we'd get Negan, but maybe that's what happens at the end of season 6. So I don't know. Speculation.
Well, when I was about a month ago, I was doing a podcast with Midtown Comics, and I was pimping biters on it, and I said, they asked about like our predictions.
That makes me feel kind of slutty.
Did I pimp us?
Yeah, when you say you pimp us.
But I made the comment on there that we make predictions all the time, and I don't think we've been right on one of them.
No, I don't think so either. I saw this great. Speaking of slutty, I saw this great meme on Twitter, I think, the other day. I would slap you, but I don't want to get slut on my hand.
Nice.
All right.
Numbers. All right. So, Fear the Walking Dead, week 1, basically blew up the cable network, or blew up cable. 10.1 million viewers. It was the highest premiere, the highest numbers for any premiere in cable history, according to Nielsen. They pulled in 6.3 million among the coveted 18 to 49 group, and if you just want to put that in perspective, because you don't know what that means, season 5 opener of The Walking Dead had 17.3 million viewers, and remember, every year with The Walking Dead, they've bigger. Had more and more. So they did 10.1 last week.
What was the premiere of? What was the Walking Dead pilot 5 years ago?
I think the Walking Dead pilot had 5.3 million.
Wow, so it doubled that.
Yeah. So Fear the Walking Dead had. So it just goes to show how much this franchise, how big legs are on this franchise. Week 2 down 18%, which really isn't. I was kind of expecting. Clearly, we're going to talk about episode 1, but given the kind of slow burn that went with episode 1, I was kind of expecting a bigger drop off. But
the bigger thing was that they had the MTV Video Awards last night with Miley Cyrus hosting, and every freaking pop idol in the world on there. Justin Bieber's first performance in 5 years. I know this only because my 13-year-old daughter made us all watch it.
Sure.
You're right. Yeah, I wanted to watch it.
Hey, but you know what? The biggest news that came out of that is that Kanye announced he's going to run in 2020.
Dude.
A Donald Trump Kanye West ticket that just might shatter the universe.
The saddest thing about that, I mean, not to like totally go off the rails here, but I love his work, by the way. As you know, I'm a big Kanye music lover, but whenever he speaks, I think he has good ideas or wants to address real problems, but I just think he can't talk. He got up there for like 20 minutes and said nothing. It was totally confusing. I know he was trying to touch on some important points and stuff. I took the whole I'm going to run for president in 2020 as kind of a poke at Trump and the idea that we as a culture now worship, entertainment and pop culture and movie stars and music stars, and to the point where we would be stupid enough to try and elect one of them to be our leader. That's just how dumb that is. But it didn't come across that way. It came across as like he was like saying, "I'm going to run for president," right? Like,
knowing Kanye as we do from all his media exploits, I wouldn't put it past him. So,
But anyway.
so basically, we got 2 episodes out of 6 for the Fear of the Walking Dead that are it's pretty much a hit. So, I just love reading the numbers too when they compare it to Sunday Night Football on during preseason because who cares? I mean, it's preseason.
I pretty much feel that way in the regular season.
I know you do. But anyway,
well, that's good. That's good, because I think that it's important for this to do well. I mean, I think that the more this does, if this does continues to do well, that will help maintain and keep afloat the main series.
All right, so let's talk about the pilot. And if you're new to the show, our format here is that we just basically, instead of going a beat by beat rundown of the show, we just call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What we liked, what we didn't like, and ugly is completely subjective. It could be really good. It could be really good, ugly, or ugly in a really good sense, or ugly in a like what were you thinking kind of sense.
I'm glad you went back over that because it's been so long I forgot.
Yeah, Alzheimer's, All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off, Kirk. What did you like about the pilot?
Well, let's see. My goods. I thought the whole opening sequence was good. I loved the way it was shot. I loved the camera angles, the lighting, the use of the slow motion when he's running. The spooky traditional horror tropes of peeking around the corner and is he about to get jumped and finding the dead body, then turning the corner, coming back, and the dead body's gone, and just it's really I thought they did a great job with that. The location was cool. I loved that the way it looked and the way the light was coming through, and it was just very atmospheric, very cool. And we got a really cool zombie right from the start. I think there was a lot of how is this gonna, are we gonna go 1, 2, 3 episodes without any zombies? You know what I mean? And I think they opened up by saying absolutely not.
Right.
And that was cool. I love that. I didn't think I was gonna like the slow burn, but I did kind of, probably because it, was such a different style than the regular show. The posters for the missing people, the kids getting sick, although I'm going to come back to that. It was one of my bads. Lots of sirens, helicopter noises, homeless people wandering that looked like they could be zombies. There was just a lot of cool visual background use of background noise and visual noise and sound noise that to kind of heighten the nervousness and tension. I thought that was cool. I thought they did a good job on that. Loved Tobias. Did not love his acne.
Did he not, when he first shows up, did he not look like a young Eugene?
He did look like a young Eugene with a severe pizza face. He was. They way overdid it on that, I think. I'm guessing because he doesn't look that young. It doesn't look like he's in high school,
right?
So maybe they did that to try and kind of make it seem more like he's in high school. But the whole thing with the knife and his kind of awkward weirdness and is obsessing about what's happening, and everyone else is kind of like, what the hell are you talking about? And I liked him right from the start. I'm going to go out here on a limb because I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I liked the daughter. A lot of people think she's cliche and typical teenager, and it's funny because maybe that's true, but I watched this, and this is the first series of this that I'm starting to watch with both my kids.
Okay.
From the beginning. They don't watch The Walking Dead or hadn't watched The Walking Dead until recently. Now we started watching a rewatch a little bit, but we only got through a couple episodes of the first season. They've watched the finale with me. They of course know all about the characters and stuff from me, but this series we decided we would watch it together. So, and my kids loved it, and my daughter completely identified with that daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she thinks she's just great. So that it may have been cliched, and it may have felt overdone to us that were watching it that are not teenagers. but teenagers may have identified with it more than we had. I
That's
don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, but I liked her. I think she's going to be she's smart, and she seems pretty cool and calculated, and she's not easily ruffled, and she's spunky, and I think she's going to end up being a strong character. Let's see. I liked the relationship between Madison and Travis. I thought that I don't love when they do things like he's fixing the sink, and it's well, what can we have him doing that makes immediately make people see him as a stepfather, or
Right.
something. And so I didn't care for that, but I liked the way they interacted with each other. I found it believable. I think those actors are strong. I don't think they were particularly written super well in this first episode. But I think hopefully they'll get more to work with. There was a couple of hat tips that I liked to 28 Days, like the fact that they're calling the zombies the infected, and the way that they kind of did that. The whole thing with the church is also a callback to 28 Days. There's a great scene in 28 Days where actually I think that's the first scene he encounters zombies at. And it's pretty wild. So that may be part of why they chose that location. I don't know. The truck that comes by, not the truck. Was it a truck? No, there was the cop that goes driving by on the motorcycle, I think, and takes the rearview mirror off the car. That was such a tip of the hat to the World War Z movie.
Oh, right,
Brad Pitt, where that happens. And then in the diner, in the end, is the same one from Pulp Fiction. So there was a lot of cool. Yeah, at least that's what I've been reading. So I just think that's pretty cool that they did that. There was also some callbacks or tip of the hats to the Walking Dead show. I just posted over on the Facebook page a picture of there's a doctor who flashes in a couple of scenes in the hospital sequence when Nick's in the hospital, and he looks a lot like Biter's friend Eric Jensen, who played Dr. Stephen Edwards. And it's pretty funny. You should check that out. I put it up on Facebook. I don't think there's anything there. I think people are trying to insinuate, it's LA versus Georgia, that, there's no reason why that doctor would be the same doctor, but I think they were just trying to poke fun. Supposedly, I didn't see this, but I read someone said there's a big A in that diner when you come in that's on the wall. I got to go back and look. But,
I got to look too.
Which is kind of a tip to the A-Team and Terminus and the A-Truck. So that was pretty cool. So I like that they're tying in, or not tying in, but
acknowledging
right, a lot of the history that kind of made for this kind of movie or this kind of show. I think it's I said before that I thought that the church was a great location. I think I also liked the church because I think it's significant to have it be in the opening sequence. I mean, they could choose any location, and when you think about designing or creating a shooting den or a drug den, why would you pick an old church? You know what I mean? I mean, it's spooky and some great lighting and everything else, but it also was a callback to that scene in 28 Days. But I think the show, as we have been seeing in the other show, the main show, is questioning, the new religion. Remember, we talked about that with Four Walls and a Roof.
Or Four Walls and a Roof, yeah.
Yeah, Four Walls and a Roof, and how, she says, it's not a sanctuary anymore. It's just four walls and a roof. Right. And then you had Morgan setting up in the church the new Holy Trinity of the bullet, the luck with the and the food, and I think they, without being directly saying it, they're kind of saying this is how this new world paradigm starts. This is the old structures of the past society. The old things that we counted on for structure and for hope and for unity and for salvation are now going to be soon decrepit and gone and unhelpful.
It could be that, or it could be that was the only location that they could afford to shoot that scene.
I like your idea better. Moving right along.
That was the cleanest. Hold on a second. For a like crack den, heroin den, whatever you want, the shooting gallery as they called it. That was the cleanest shooting gallery like ever that's ever been filmed. I mean, it was pretty much. What do the nuns come in and like wash up after every episode?
So those were my goods. What about you?
All right. So a lot of people bagged on this episode because of the slow burn, and I agree with you. I actually like the slow burn. I like you get that initial hit in the beginning, and you can kind of see, and it just works because you've got Nick, played by Frank Delane, he's this junkie addict, and did he see what he really saw? Was it just a figment of his drug induced? Was it a drug induced hallucination? Whatever.
Right.
So a great opening, and I did like the slow burn aspect. You mentioned the sirens and the activity in the background. The thing I loved about that is that no one gave it any mind, and
Right.
I think that is a real. I used to work in New York City, and
Yeah.
you walk down the street. Man, there's sirens going all the time. Nobody pays it any mind. No one cares,
Nope.
even when it goes blaring right by you. And I
Nope.
thought it was and even the scene when they're in the truck, Nick and Maddie are in the truck, and they're about to take that off ramp, and they hit all that traffic, and there was just something real natural about that scene.
Yep.
Because they're just sitting there, they're talking, they hit traffic. Normally in a show you'd be like, oh, what's this traffic about? Somebody must be dead up ahead. There's like this, but no, they were just like continued their conversation talking about. I think they were talking about. It wasn't Nick. Travis and Maddie in the truck. And I think they were talking about Nick and, we'll find him. But then they hit that pocket of traffic on that off ramp, and it was just, they just kept going. Meanwhile, there's sirens and stuff going on up ahead of them, and they still didn't give it any mind, right?
Well, I mean, how many times have we seen videos on YouTube of like car chases in California and the helicopters up above with the lights, and people out there must be used to seeing that all the time.
Yeah. So every scene there was that in the background, and I really liked that because no one paid it any mind. And going back to that scene too, that just kind of made it natural was Travis sticks his head out or steps outside the truck, kind of looks ahead like any of us would do to see what's going on, right? And he almost loses the door and loses himself to that bike going by. And what does he do? It's not like, I must go find out what's going on. No, it was like, yeah, we're out here, and gets in the car and drives off like any of us would do. So it just felt very natural. There were a lot of scenes in this that just, and I want
to add to that, since you're talking about the slow burn. The other thing that made the slow burn work better than it would in a normal scenario or a normal series is because of the fact that we are so trained already from The Walking Dead. We know more than these people do.
Right.
So the slow burn is agonizing for us and terrifying, because we know, for instance, when Nick's in the hospital and he's sitting in the bed next to the old guy who's wheezing and obviously dying, and he's strapped in, and you're sitting there going, oh man, this guy is going to die. He's going to come back to life. He's going to become a zombie, and he's going to be strapped in there. And it's like, oh my God. Yeah. No, I thought that was great.
So the slow burn and the sirens and all the background stuff I really liked, and I'm kind of caught between, do I want this to be, if he should be my ugly good or if he's just a good, but Frank Delane, I just thought stole the show. Frank Delane's the actor who plays Nick, the son.
Yeah, that's my ugly.
He, first of all, he looks like a young Johnny Depp in a couple of the scenes, and his pedigree is actually interesting. He, for those of you who are Harry Potter fans, he was young Tom Riddle in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And his dad is Stephen Delane, who plays Stannis Baratheon in Game of Thrones. Or if you're a big fan of him who knew him before Game of Thrones, he was in Spy Game with Robert Redford. But holy cow! As an actor, he just captured, my biggest pet peeve about horror, whether it's movies or TV shows, is just, and I'll bring this up later on this episode, is just, it's discovery. Okay, so discovery of something bizarre, supernatural, whatever it is. And in most things, you either get the ridiculous, over the top B movie scream queen reaction, where you just scream your head off, or you kind of get this like, oh my God, that's really scary. It must be a vampire. Like, how did you make that jump from here to there? But Frank Delane, especially in the scene when he's with Calvin at the end, the look on his face, like, he's like, oh my God, what just happened here? Did I just see this? What just happened? And it was awesome. Like, I totally believe that this kid he can't tell the difference between, was that hallucination or was that real?
Right,
and he
right.
sold it from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it's his physicality. The way he was grabbing this coat and shaking and twisting and then when he was walking as if he was like, like almost a zombie himself. I mean, he was just so wigged out, you know what I mean? And, I totally agree with you. I have a lot more to say about that as well, but I'm going to hold on to it because that's my ugly.
All right.
Any other goods?
No, that's what I got for good.
All right. So bad. I thought that some of this, not symbolism, but there was a few things that they did that were just a little too on the nose. Like when Travis is teaching and he's talking about nature versus man, and it was
Absolutely. Yep.
it was just a little too, little too, and with the principal, when he's leaning over listening to and he's like, is he already a zombie? And it's like, oh man, there's a little too much of that. I felt there was some inconsistency. Now, it got better in the second episode, so I'll talk about that, I guess, in the next segment. But there's a little bit of inconsistency on the rising of the dead logic. And it was mainly because of this whole thing about people getting sick. Mm-hmm. And like the principal says to Maddie when she comes in, oh, I thought you were another victim, lots of kids out sick. And now, you got to get bitten or you got to die for this to kick in. So I suppose all those kids that were calling in sick were people who had been bitten and were getting sick and had the fever and everything. But I would think if they were large quantities of people being bitten by people, then you already have a mass outbreak that would have been, on the news already by then. So to me, that it kind of muddled a little bit with the whole logic of that the show has established in the other show and in the comic of how the zombieism starts. The second part of that was, if it's kicking in and happening, then all dead people would be coming back as zombies right now. Mm-hmm. Since she came back right in the beginning. So it's on. Like Donkey Kong, you know what I mean?
Right.
So morgues, hospitals, places where you got dead bodies, they're going to be up and starting to munch. Mm-hmm. That would make this whole slow burn thing. You're getting a little bit of that with, the police had a shooting and this and that, but there's a little bit of throwing out, I think, of the logic in order to accommodate their desire to create a slower burn. I think in reality, this would happen much faster than it even did in this, and it's happening pretty fast. I mean, we're pretty much full into it now in the second episode. But do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know if you agree or not.
Well, and it's come up in a couple places where there's speculation that the church is ground zero for everything, and I kind of hope it's not, because I don't want to be there right when this thing kicks off. Like that's just kind of too easy. And I'm not saying that you're necessarily wrong, but I would say there's a counter to it's the people in the morgue and things, is that we don't know what the precipitant is that starts everything.
Right.
So, okay, so you've got 100. We'll just put a number. You got 100 bodies in the morgue. But this girl, let's just say this girl there just happens to be the perfect storm of germs or whatnot, right? Whatever it is that gets together, and it just happens to combine in this girl at the church. Let's assume she's patient 0, right? And
Right.
she's the first zombie. She's the first one. So it could, in theory, it could be her as that she starts it, or somebody started it before her, kind of thing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a mass uprising. It would move fast, like you said, but I don't necessarily think that it has to be. I mean, it's the process has already started. So we're and as we learned in the Walking Dead, everybody's infected. So it's kind of like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, you remember the first Batman movie with Nicholson and Keaton, where Joker's formula.
Right.
Batman figures out that Joker's formula, it's not a formula so much. He's just using everything that's already around. So people start using antiperspirants and mouthwash and blah blah blah. So it's all around us. It's here, and it just happens to coagulate in, one person at one point. So that would, that might be the point where everything starts, which means that you don't necessarily have the uprising through the morgues and.
But here's where so in other words, but still, to me, that still there's issues there. For instance, if she's patient 0, then why are all the people that are dying coming back? In other words, if she's patient 0, then she has to spread it. Unless she's come in contact with them, they shouldn't be coming back. But what's really terrifying about this is that it doesn't just take a bite. We all have it. As soon as you die, you come back. So that means it's probably more airborne.
But yet, everybody that we've seen come back so far has been bitten.
Right. So to me,
so you're right. So in Walking Dead, you die, you come back. Right. You come back to life, but in this one you've got to be bitten so far. So it's bite transmitted. Right.
So I just think there's a little bit of inconsistency there, and I think it's mainly just because they wanted to have the slow burn opening, so they had to kind of control a little bit how it spreads. I thought overall the story was a little slow in this first episode. I thought it was stretched out. I think it could have benefited from being a little shorter. I think it should have been 60 minutes. You and I talked about this previously. It should have been 60 minutes instead of 90. I think they could have edited it down to a solid, faster paced, stronger, more concentrated 60 minutes rather than the 90 it was. For instance, we went back to that church 3 times, 4 if you include the opening.
Right.
So you have the opening with him in that church. Then he goes back looking for her.
Right.
Then his father or his stepfather goes looking there for him, I think, or for evidence of him.
Yep.
And then the stepfather brings Maddie back there. So that's 4 times.
Yep.
Now, to me, that immediately said, well, they spent a lot of money on the set. They want to use it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to me, it was kind of like, there was just, we didn't need that. We needed, maybe you go back once to verify whether what this kid is saying happened, and you find these dead bodies and everything else, or evidence that there were dead bodies there. To me, then you move on. That verifies it to some degree, puts enough belief in Travis that there's something validity to this, and you move on. You didn't need to go back again, twice. But that stretched it out, So, those are my bads overall. I mean, overall, Nick was, I'm going to talk about it in my ugly, but he was really the only character I loved. The only character I really liked. Tobias I liked as well, but it was really, there just wasn't much there for the other actors.
Yeah. All right. So for my bad, I'll address something that you mentioned about it being 90 minutes. I agree.
And then compare. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just compare.
But I'll interrupt you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but fuck you. Think of the pilot for Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Now, you get to meet Shane. There's more character development between Shane and him in that car, eating and talking about their wives and relationships and stuff, than any of what happened with the rest of the characters in this episode, except for Nick. And then the whole episode, really, you get Nick and Morgan and his son in a great character development for all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Well, really more just Morgan and Rick, but I mean, it was just rich, and we just didn't get that here. I mean, you got a lot with Nick, but that was really it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So instead of having the 90-minute pilot, I almost would have gone with a 2-hour. Maybe you could have cut it down a little bit, but combine 1 and 2 into your pilot.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been so. And we'll talk about episode 2, but
No, I think that's a great idea.
That would have been perfect. I have some nitpicks. Travis going to the church at night again. Cleanest, drug den I've ever seen in my life, whether in person or, on TV. He's going to go in at night.
How many drug dens have you seen in person?
Well, boys got to have a hobby, right? So, he goes in at night, and I get it's the whole horror trope, but it was just kind of cheesy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The whole time he's in there, my kids are like, "What are you doing? Don't go in there. What do you go out? What do you get out of there? What are you
moron?"
Plus it's not like, I mean, even though he didn't know that there were zombies there, and he didn't believe obviously what Nick was telling him. Something went down there, and it was a bad place where bad people hang out, and it's pitch black, and he can't see any. It's just insane.
One of the things, and maybe it's because on another podcast, Disturbed, where we discuss Scream on MTV. Go ahead and check it out.
Plug.
That show it takes place in right now, contemporary, and it's very social media heavy. So it's like something happens, somebody's tweeting about it, someone's going on the Facebook analog and talking about it, and it's very contemporary. Again, this was an episode where things happen and there's no social media. There's no there's no using technology. In episode 2, a little bit of getting ahead, but when Travis is trying to get his real son, can't remember his name,
Chris.
When he's trying to get a hold of Chris doesn't answer the phone. He's like, oh, no, he's not answering the phone. Text him,
Right.
So if you and I were if we went to go visit
plus they're like, where is he? I don't know. Well, look, I see him on the TV. What are the fucking chances? Excuse me. What are the chances of that? Instead you take your phone and you use your Find iPhone, right, or whatever that thing's
right.
called. I track my kids all the time with that thing.
But you don't. So you see this pool of blood in the
church.
The church.
Right.
You don't snap a picture of it?
Yeah.
Like you said, we've been there 4 times. All right, look, we've been there twice because we'll take Nick out of it.
He didn't need to take a picture because he knew he was coming back. He'd take it on the 3rd or 4th trip. Get that picture. He'll get it.
But you don't. Travis goes back and says, or when does he? Did he say it with Maddie, or did he say it after he goes back? He was like, something bad happened here. Didn't think to call the cops. Don't think to call the cops. Something bad clearly did happen here. There were like maggots in the blood and stuff. Like, really?
When the kid comes running out and gets hit by the car, and obviously gets picked up by police and an ambulance and brought to the hospital. No, and he wasn't saying anything. No one checked out the church and went in and said, let's go investigate this.
Again, it's just one of those. It's another pet peeve of mine I have with movies and TV. Cops just end up looking stupid, and you didn't need that. The cops were bedside with Nick at the hospital, like questioning him, right?
Right.
So clearly there's an opening. Travis can go and, hey, look, my stepson, or whatever he wants to call. He's not crazy. He's not. Look, I was there. You need to go check out the church. Blah blah.
Right.
Okay. So the social media thing. So when you see these things going on, or the kids in the school looking at the phone, right, and you see the guy on the stretcher, like he bites the paramedic. What about the other one? The cops putting 5 rounds into the guy. Everybody's just kind of looking like, oh, that can't be. Is that special effects? Is that how they act in L.A.? Because if this was like New York, I mean, that would be like blowing up Twitter and social media and stuff. I mean, again, it just wasn't realistic. It was go back into the 80s, yeah, okay, it would be, but these days you'd be the whole thing about, well, half the kids are out of school. No, Tobias comes in and tells Maddie that yeah, his theory about zombies, or not zombies, but the theory
Virus
that the virus and whatever, and she goes, "You need to get off the internet."
Right.
No, you need to get on it because clearly there's something going on here you need to know about, Mrs. M. So that kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I didn't consciously notice that as I was watching it, with the exception of the video of the paramedic scene. It seemed a little forced and pushed, how convenient, that they would do. I don't know. And the way that they were disrespecting the teacher and watching it, and the teacher wasn't really doing it. It was just kind of, I don't know. It was just it was kind of like somebody who doesn't really.
I didn't like the headshot either. The guy gets shot a couple times by the cops, and they're like, "Oh, headshot puts him down." They're like,
"Headshot, bitch."
I mean, that would be appalling if you saw that for real.
But when you're a teenager, I think it's appalling for you and me. But I don't know.
So we talked about how great Frank Delane is, and I'm sure you're going to go further in your ugly.
I'm going to get ugly in my ugly.
Right. But you said something in your long-winded review that
my long-winded, boring rambling, my nonsensical jibber jabber
about the writing, and I don't, for the most part, I don't disparage the actors. Kim Dickens she's got a long, she's Mrs. Saracen on Friday Night Lights.
Don't say pedigree again. You're about to say long pedigree. I could hear it coming.
I was.
Makes me think of dogs.
She was also the deputy in Gone Girl. Yep. Cliff Curtis. I really like Cliff Curtis. He's been a bunch of stuff forever. He will always be Pablo Escobar in Blow with Johnny Depp. But these are two actors that I just thought they didn't do.
Is there a character in Gone Girl there was Gloria? Did she play the character called Gloria, or? So I thought I read something about that, and they were saying that the name of the first woman, the first girl zombie, Patient Zero, as you're calling her name was Gloria, and he keeps calling her. And they said that was, I read somewhere where somebody said that was a callback to the actress that plays Maddie's role in Gone Girl.
No, in Gone Girl, she was Rhonda Boney.
Oh, so maybe it was something else. Boney,
yeah.
Okay.
So Cliff Curtis and Kim Dickens, they just didn't do much with them. I'm in the camp that I wasn't a big fan of the daughter who played Alicia. Hey, you watched The Wire, right? Did you notice her boyfriend was
the boyfriend? Yes, he's one of the students.
Randy Wagstaff.
Yeah.
So it's while you said that you liked her relation, Kim Dickens's relationship with Cliff Curtis with Travis, the one thing is Kim Dickens has always kind of disaffected and just kind of separated in the performances that she does. When she was Saracen's mom in Friday Night Lights, or when she was the Rhonda in Gone Girl, there's like a separation she has, and it works for those roles. In this one, I wanted her to be more of a mother, and she wasn't. I didn't feel she was. There was just kind of like that like separation. And I get that when you have a child who is a drug addict, like Nick was or is, that might be kind of like a defense mechanism, because of all the ups and downs that you go through. And I get that, but even still with her daughter, I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't care for her. Just her acting. It was either her acting or her writing. Just something. I was like, I'm just not buying her. I got the feeling
she was cold.
Yes,
is that what it was?
Yeah, and I got and with Cliff Curtis, he's a really good actor. And in this episode, I thought he was just horribly underutilized and just
Yeah.
a puppy dog. That opening scene, as a writer, can we just get rid of from now on the guy under the sink, like fixing, what are you fixing under a sink to stop a leak? Like, it's, you know,
I'm 52. I've never fixed anything under my sink. Anything I've been under my sink, I've broken.
it was just,
That's
it was
why
just,
I have a phone and I have a list of
And a
numbers.
plumber
and
on
one of them
speed
is
dial.
a plumber. I put him on speed dial.
I just thought that, and I thought that they had him trying too hard to be the stepdad and be the cool guy, and I really wanted him. It pissed me off that he kind of started to have that relationship with Nick. So Nick was like, basically like, I'm not crazy. Like, I saw this, and Travis goes to the thing and to the church, and he sees that I don't think Nick's crazy, and he comes back and he just powder puffs it and doesn't. Really stick up for Nick. And I for this first episode, I thought that it felt to me when I got done, I said, she's the female Rick Grimes. She's LA Rick Grimes. And I thought that's what it felt like they were trying to.
Yeah,
to
I think they are. Did you catch I think something's going to happen though that's going to change that, but I don't know if it's going to be conscious on their part, but I'll talk about it in my ugly. But I definitely think, yes, they're trying to build her as the Rick Grimes. Did you catch the line where she says about his drug addiction being in the genes?
Yeah.
A lot of people have speculated, that's the stepfather or the biological father, and that that somehow is going to come up there, or that character will come back into it or something like that. And that may be, but I'm willing to bet she's the one with the problem.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Maybe she's a recovered alcoholic or something like that.
That's good, because I did the same thing. I thought the stepdad or the biological father.
And if they go that way, it would be the obvious route, and I'd be disappointed. But it would be cool if they kind of swung that around to say no, she was really talking about herself.
Yeah.
I thought that would be nice.
That would be good. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, just to add some depth to her and some complexity to her.
Hey, I just had, before you get to the ugly, I had a note written down here. So the writer of this episode, well, two writers, Kirkman and Dave Erickson. Dave Erickson, he did Sons of Anarchy, and he did this show called Low Winter Sun, which was also on AMC. It was a noir show. Didn't last. I think it lasted a season or barely a season. I watched like half of it, and I was kind of zoned out. But Low Winter Sun had, I love playing like this 6 degrees of separation between. Low Winter Sun had as one of the main actors Lenny James. Who is?
I tried so hard to meet Lenny James at Walker Stalker in Boston, and
that's Morgan for anybody who's
we
not savvy.
We went to his table a couple times, but he was on break. I just think he's a tremendous guy, tremendous actor.
All right, let's get to the ugly.
Ugly. All right. Well, as I've already kind of let out, my ugly was the character of Nick. I agree with everything you said. I think his performance was stellar, outstanding. It was captivating to watch him. The physicality that he brought, even just in his motions and movement through that opening sequence where he's, coming out of his stupor and he's wandering through and he throws on her shirt, or he's got her shirt on, and you could just tell he was just in that moment, and then when even though it was kind of comical when he comes running out and his pants are falling down, at the same time, when you look at his eyes, it was just the horror, it was believable, and then the whole scene with the drug dealer and the terror that's coming over, and it just, he was just captivating to watch. He was complicated. He was by far the most complicated character. Loved when he tells his sister he's going to go clean, and I believed him.
Yeah.
When he's talking to her, and I'm like, I got totally suckered in.
Yep.
As people do with those kinds of people. You know what I mean? Addictive people do that all the time. And I was just like, wow. Because then the minute he got out, he was back on the street. trying to score. I mean, I think he's trying to figure out what happened and track down what happened on his own. But I think he's also going right back to the old life and has no intention of getting clean. And that was just awesome how he was able to pull that off. He's also the only one by the end of the episode to realize the new paradigm. Kill or be killed, and you can see it in his eyes when he's in that truck. And he's just like, no way, man. I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to run over you as many times as it takes to put you to put you down. You know what I mean? I mean, he's there. He's made that leap. You know what I mean? And maybe it was because he shot the guy, and that freaked him out. And then the guy comes back to life, so he's had a lot more experience with it. Plus the whole eating of the face in the first opening scene than the other characters. But whatever the reason, he had reached that plateau and again just totally did it in a really believable way. I think, like you said, Madison is what the show is trying to create as the Rick of this show. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nick becomes the Rick of this show.
Because his name rhymes.
Well, that's an excellent point that I didn't even think of. Damn you. That's right. That's excellent. The other reason I thought of it, there were some other visual cues. When he gets hit by the car and he's lying on the ground, the camera changes to above and shoots him from above as he's lying down, and all the people are coming in from the side. It's a great shot. It's also the exact same camera shot that they used after Rick was shot, and Shane is sitting with him in the field, and the camera is up above, and the other cops are coming in, and he's trying to keep him from dying or whatever. And then the other thing is his story starts in a hospital bed.
Right.
And so to me, that maybe they were just tip of the hats to the original show, but to me it also is a little bit of foreshadowing that this is maybe our Rick. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whose story are we really going to be following here? Are we going to be following Maddie's, or are we following Rick's? So yeah, that's why his whole character and his performance was my ugly.
Okay. I had a couple uglies. Actually, one's not necessarily an ugly. I know how this show could have been fixed. This episode could have been fixed. It shouldn't have been, I don't think, it should have been from this one family's perspective. We're in LA. This is you got a big city. You've got a variety of socioeconomic rungs on the ladder here. I think, and to kind of separate it out from your typical show about this, or even The Walking Dead, it should have been done from multiple perspectives. So we have this family, and we have Nick and his drug addledness and his messed up family, but then they have an interaction with Alicia with her boyfriend. What was his name?
Matt.
He's then the camera goes off with him, and then he goes off to his family, and maybe his family has an interaction with the gardener, right? And the gardener, then you get to see in LA especially, you've got this easy way to see the different hierarchies, and you can see it from different perspectives. And I just think that would have been a little bit more interesting than just from this one family's perspective, just sitting with them, because what bogged this episode down, I think annoyed a lot of people, was it just got bogged down in a lot of the family stuff. Right. And you had the brainiac daughter. Everybody was a trope. You had the brainiac daughter. You had the try too hard stepfather wannabe. You had the black sheep kid. You had the stoic parent. Yeah. So I think multiple perspectives would have really helped this out. My biggest ugly is just, again, what I talked about at the beginning of this podcast was just discovery, and the fact that you go to the end. We talked about how great Frank Delane was at Nick. He shoots Calvin. Calvin's dead. He's freaked out. Oh my God! I holy crap! I just did a bad thing. He takes everybody back. He takes Travis and Maddie back, and Calvin's not there. and now he's weirding out. Oh my gosh, was that real? Was it live or was it Memorex? I don't know. And they get in the truck. They're in that tunnel and they see Calvin. Totally normal response. Maddie and Travis get out. Calvin, you okay? Calvin, what's going on? Calvin's acting a little weird. Calvin, goes to bite Maddie, and next thing they know, Maddie's son runs him over with a truck. And they just kind of stand there and watch it. And if your kid runs somebody over with a truck, aren't you like, what the flying F are you doing? You try to get him out.
Right.
Not to mention the fact that, then Calvin's on the front end of the truck and Nick hits him, launches him like he's a SpaceX rocket, out the tunnel, and he lands, and then Calvin turns his head and looks, and what does Maddie say? She goes, what the hell is happening? And Travis goes, I have no idea. Wouldn't you be like, what the, I mean, there.
So some you're ugly up. It's just what the reactions. I'm not sure what you're.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, that's odd.
Pass me another martini, will you, Travis? I'm curious what he's gonna do next. This dead thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that there were points in the show, and we've talked about a few of them, where there were points in the show where there was realism. Like, you were there, and you're like, oh, dude, I totally get it. And in the second episode that we'll talk about, there were more of those. There were more of those, like, I could totally see myself in there, and you ramped up that realism. And I think that if you had more of a realistic, what the hell is going on here kind of reaction, I think it would have brought the viewer more into what was going on in the show.
Yeah, so, no, I agree. I think you're right. I think it's a good point. I think that they were a little deadpan in that particular scene, and should have been more freaked out, screaming, yelling, losing it. Travis or even Maddie grabbing Nick, pulling him out of the truck, like, what did you just do? Like, you just killed it. You just. What? Yeah. Look over, and he's like getting up, like that. Like, now you got me sucked in, and now I'm freaked out that this is weird. So yeah. No, I think it's a good point. It's a good point.
So absolutely. Overall, I gave the episode.
I thought they did a good job though with what was the dealer's name?
Calvin.
The whole thing with him where they go and meet him at his parents, and he's just so clean cut and everything.
It was too clean cut though. Like,
it was obvious that they were trying to make him look clean cut, but I didn't understand why. So then when you see him as the drug dealer, you're like, oh.
Well, I got thrown in that scene. I
didn't see that coming
because he's vacuuming the SUV, and then you see the wheelchair in the back and the handicap sticker, and you're like, oh, he's a good guy, and you're like, no, he can't be a good guy. And then they go up to him, but no bad guy's going to be so nice and formal, with, oh, hey, let's go in and use my phone, like, no bad guy's going to invite you into his house to use his phone. So I got thrown by that. I didn't understand.
I mean, I was like, well, if this is a friend of Nick and Nick is a junkie,
right?
And how could, but then I kept thinking, well, maybe this is some friend of his from like high school, and a guy who may have been in bed trouble with him at one point, but got his life together, and they're coming to him because it's the only person they can think of that might,
Well, that line he says, where he said something along the lines of Nick doesn't come around here anymore.
Right.
Again, was I agree. They kind of lent it in that direction. So
no, but I still think. I mean, it was a little over the top, but I thought it was well done because it surprised me. For me, it was well done because it surprised me. And two, he was really ruthless. Yeah. The actor did a really good job. I mean, he was believable as this kind of like hokey, clean cut kid. And then when he was sitting in that booth with his hat on him and he's talking, you could just tell. I thought I was watching Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
He's like, that the way this is going to end is that Nick's going, bye-bye with the fishes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so I thought they did a good job on that. So, I think overall it was a good pilot. I think that it didn't exceed expectations. That's for sure. So in that sense, I was kind of hoping for something something totally unique. But I think they just got to get their sea legs. I think they got to get their sea legs. They got to get the characters developed a little bit.
Well, I had read the script a couple months ago, and it's one of those things where you read the script and you're like, it's okay, and but a script is one thing, and then you see it actually in play out, and sometimes you're like, oh, you know what, it actually plays out better than it read. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was pretty much. I gave it like a C+.
I mean, because I still think that the pilot for the original series is one of the best episodes of the entire series,
and that's what everybody online
stands up.
That's what everybody compares us to. They're like, that's the gold standard. You have to compare every zombie pilot in the genre. You got to compare it to.
So I don't buy when I hear people, saying, well, you got to give it time. You got to, and I just said it myself, you got to let them get their sea legs and everything else. It's true, but at the same time, it's not necessary. I mean, because there have been examples, and the main show is a perfect example, that you can do a pilot and have it be riveting and captivating right from the start, So that was kind of disappointing, but it's getting better as we talk about the second episode.
All right, so before we do that, let me just read Abby Q's note about the pilot.
Okay.
Abby wrote in, I just want to see if you would actually do one. I'm not going to do the whole noggin shots, go into details like the usual show, but I thought the pilot was dope. Something a little different. If I did have to give it a score, 4.5 out of 5. He mentions, if you listen closely, you hear helicopters and sirens throughout the pilot, and all I kept thinking was, damn, poor kid on the bus. I would have believed him, honestly. I didn't see that situation with Cal. Great pilot overall, and so he really liked the pilot.
Yep, he did. And I think, to your point, they seem to be kind of settling into the same formula as the regular show by picking a family, in this case, as opposed to an individual, and then having a linear story about that family. And the way that Rick Grimes is it's really the story of Rick Grimes and his journey through this thing. And to your point, if that structure makes it very much like the main show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they had an opportunity to create something completely different. And like you said, if they had chosen to have lots of different stories being told simultaneously, it might have given it a whole different feel. I don't know. It might have been all over the place, but it might have because it seems to me like as this progresses and the zombies become much more prevalent, it's essentially just going to be the same kind of show, just with a different cast and different adventures, but essentially the same thing. And they could have made it different.
Well, the thing is, too,
they probably didn't want to risk it. You know what I mean? Because what if it didn't?
Well, the other thing too, they could have just gone for the safe option. The other thing too is about storytelling. Is that if you can. One of the central tenets of storytelling is that if you can take a character out of a story and you do not meaningfully change that story, that character isn't necessary, And other than Nick in the pilot, I mean, who's really necessary? Kim Dickens, her character, she's basically us, the viewer, because she makes certain comments along the line about, when Travis says something about the church, and she's like, well, it's like something bad happened there. And she's like, well, everything, that's what
bad
happens.
Things happen there. It's a drugs job.
So she's kind of like the voice of the audience, of us. She's like our mouthpiece. But the daughter, she didn't do much she didn't do anything in the pilot. Travis, unfortunately, I didn't think he added anything. So. And it's not so much the actors. I just don't think that they were given much to work with.
Yeah.
That changes considerably, though, in episode 2, which we're about to talk about.
Go ahead. You start off.
So, the my good for this one is just right off the bat. It just feels like cut all the chaff out of the writing, and they just got a little more. The writers got tighter with their writing, and now everything matters. It's like every beat, everything that happens in this episode matters, and there was a great just build up as the story goes on. I still think there's I'll talk about it in my bads. I think there's some leaps of logic, but everything you had that slow ramp, which I think they tried to get in the beginning and kind of failed because they were trying to get established. But this whole episode 2, was just this slow ramp of story and tension, and now people are starting to you're starting to notice. I think now in episode 2, all of us watching, we're starting to really, in episode 1, the sirens and stuff in the background were just kind of background noise and you were cognizant of it. Now you're really starting to listen to that because you hear things like that radio announcement in the back, or was it on the TV that was, cops being shot. Incidents of cops being shot is on the rise. And so now you're starting to pay attention to that stuff that's going on in the background.
There's a hilarious scene when they're in the car and Nick's feverishly trying to listen to the radio to get news.
Yeah.
And you start to hear this report that sounds like it's exactly, a report about, and then it turned out it was about a sports team or something.
Yes. Yeah.
That was hilarious. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that you can, part of that though, I think was the editing, and that, the difference between having to edit what they shot for episode 2 into 60 minutes rather than into 90 minutes and again, that's including commercials. It's not actually minutes to the show, but, and I think that they really had a 60-minute story that they made 90 minutes with the pilot. And this was a much more concise, tension-filled, and I agree with you. I think you could measure the beats, and if you had a speedometer on this episode, it was going up 5-10 miles per hour every 15 minutes, and I agree with you.
And just seeing the little things, and again, we talk about this about what makes a really great Walking Dead episode is that there's not exposition, and there's a whole you can tell a story in just a visual and just a scene. So we got the you got the tenor of what was going on especially when they came home. They looked across the street, and that family across the street is putting on that party for their daughter. But hey, we hope people show up. But that virus is going around, and you're just like, I feel bad for that. I feel bad for that little girl, And then he looks over at his neighbor, and his neighbor is packing stuff into his trunk, and then his neighbor looks up and then what does he do? He sniffs and wipes his nose. You're like, oh, you're a goner too. And what about the cop at the 7-Eleven or that convenience store?
Is stealing the water.
Yeah, just filling up the back of the cruiser. So it was all those little shots of things, and you see that that just added to the tension. And you didn't need dialogue. You didn't need anything to go along with it. So those were my primary goods with this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on all of that. I think I liked the first big Walker takedown, which was the Madison of the principal. I loved how after she's finished, her face is covered in hair. Again, some of the way things are shot, I really liked from the first episode, and I liked in this episode too. I don't know. I have to look up who's doing the cinematography, and or maybe it's the direction. I don't know. Was it the same director?
Adam Davidson, yeah.
And, just things like, she finally, snaps and gets that fire extinguisher and pounds this guy's head into the ground. And then she's hunched over, and the hair is down in front of her face, and you don't see her face. Yeah. And she just looks wild. And there's this good physical sense that she has now stepped up. She's realized they're in a whole new world, and it's going to take another step up in ferocity to survive, and I liked that.
Just to piggyback on that, the opening scene when Alicia's walking down the street and she's all alone. I think that the opening shot was like on top of her and just like that lonely, that lonely walk. That was pretty cool.
And then the skateboarders come flying by, but at first, when they first start coming into the picture, I'm like, "What the hell is this?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, they did a good job with the marketing campaign, which had the commercials for it. Yeah, where you had the kids at the skateboards, and then so when you saw the skateboarders, I was like, it made me immediately uncomfortable because that image in my head of the zombie walking up to the skateboard park,
Yep.
When they look out the window and the mother and the daughter, or Maddie and Alicia, and they see the woman being attacked, and the mother makes the daughter stay inside and not help. I mean, to me, it was another great moment, like the fight with the principal, that marked her change, her start to change, her realization that the world has changed, and more importantly, I think it was an interesting response, because even though you're in this horrible situation, if you saw somebody being attacked that was your neighbor and they're right across the street and it's happening, to not go and help,
right,
reflects the kinds of changes in morality, this kind of save yourself, kill or be killed mentality that ends up really tearing the world apart. Zombies become the reason for the world falling apart, but it's us that let it happen. You know what I mean? In the way that we responded and not reaching out and not helping, and which is a big issue and a big part of the underlying story theme in the main series, like with Rick, where we don't kill the living, and Glenn with, we're not like that, we help, and this idea of, we have to keep some sort of sense of morality and humanity, and otherwise we're just rabid animals, and the reality is, or at least not the reality, but you start to see that happening with this character. And I thought that was a significant message. It wasn't just, she's trying to protect her daughter. It's also just this kind of, okay, it's us against the world. And that's not necessarily a great attitude to survive as a species. It might be good for you as a person or protecting your family. But anyway, I thought Tobias was excellent again. I thought he was creepy a little bit in this episode, but definitely on target. I love the whole comeback for the knife thing. I thought that was funny. They set that up with her taking the knife in the first episode, explained why he's back at the school, and they would run into each other. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool. I wish he had just stayed with her, though. But I'm assuming he's going to come back in somehow. They're going to rope him back in. Did you check out the shot of now that we've talked about the zombies on the plane, did you check out there was a shot, I think it's when they're leaving the school, but I'm not positive, and I'm not sure if it's Tobias, but I think it is. And he looks up in the air, and you see this plane going across this, and I just thought that was kind of cool, especially with the news about the news. So I wonder if that plane will be the plane that
I was waiting for that thing to go down.
Yeah, that would have been cool too. You already talked about the fact that the boyfriend, was from The Wire. I thought that was good. I liked little things like when she pauses when she's leaving the office. It's almost as if she was like saying goodbye.
Yep.
I thought that was cool. So I think, overall they were doing a better job of the little things like that than they did in the first episode. The first episode was too hard hitting, too on the nose, like his lecture in the schoolroom. Mm-hmm. The pausing and looking back was very symbolic of I'm having to let go of this world now. This is not my life anymore, but in a subtle way. And I liked that. My 13-year-old daughter, by the way, said that this episode was swag, alicious, and amaze balls. So that was her contribution to. I'm not sure what swagalicious is, but I can assume what maze balls is. Love the neighbors and the party. I thought that there's one point again. something they're doing great in this, and my hat's off to in both. We talked about it in the first episode. I'm talking about more here. The use of sound, something that they do a little bit. They work on in Walking Dead, but it usually has to do more with zombies or. There's not much environmental noise going on in the main series.
Right.
But here you had that party going on, and it was just so well set up. You're like, oh my God, they're going to have a party, and there's like freaking zombies starting to come up, and these people know, but they're not telling them. And oh my God, what's going to happen there? And, and then you hear the party going on in the background when the mother and the daughter are in the house, but it doesn't sound like it's a fun party.
No.
Something right, exactly, and they're not paying attention to the fact that the noises coming from that party are not celebration noises,
right?
And that creeped me out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I thought that was really well done, and again, just very subtle. Let's see, I had a lot of goods here. I told you, I liked Alicia again. I like her attitude, I like her strength. I thought that she did a great job as an actress. They started to give different characters more meat. Her interaction with her brother in that scene where he starts to go grand mal. She's trying to get out. She wants to check on her boyfriend. He starts to grand mal and puke all over, and she starts getting pissed at him. And don't you do this to me now? And yet she stays and she helps him and she cleans up after him. And then when she's cleaned up all his puke and everything else, and he's like, thank you and everything else, she's like, I hate you, and it was just, it was awesome. I thought she did a really good job. I guess that was it for my goods, but overall, just I think I agree with you, much better edited, better written, and it all worked much better.
All right, so my bads are just some things. Just I didn't. For me, there were a lot of leaps in logic in this. So, I had a problem right off the bat with Alicia walking into like this empty house. The door's open, and she's kind of, again, it's the whole just not. You go to somebody's house and the door is ajar and it's open. Really, you're gonna just walk in there fine? That's probably nitpicky. I'd probably just need to let that go. It's because it's TV and it can't be perfect all the time. But I don't know. For some reason, I just had a problem with that.
I think when you get inside that house and you see that there's been a struggle, there's stuff on the floor. Remember, the flowers are on the floor. The chair's tipped over. No one's answering you. The door was open. No, you get out. You call 911 and you get police there.
So, and that's one of the things. Okay, so I've got a note here about this is the leap of logic. So, the family gets together, Travis and Maddie, and they talk about, we got to go to the desert, and the desert will be safe.
No water, no food,
right?
Scorching heat, no shelter. What the fuck? How's that safe?
But safe from what? You haven't been on the news. You haven't gone on the internet. You haven't done any research to find out if something's wrong. Right. All you know is there's a flu going around. Dude, we're in Connecticut. How often does a flu and a stomach bug go around and it takes kids out of school, right?
Right, and I always get it.
Yeah. No matter how much Purell you drink, you always manage to get it.
Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. I've been putting it on my hands. I'm supposed to drink it? Oh, you should have told me that.
So right off the bat, it's we've got to escape. We've got to get out, and we've got to go somewhere else. No, that's you made too big of a leap. So I had a problem with that. There's no urgency to call 911 or the cops or the news or anything. I just saw something really bizarre. Maddie, look, when Maddie takes out Artie, the principal, she does what she's got to do because he's clearly, weird, bizarre, trying to eat Tobias.
She also knows what's happening to him now. Well, she saw the dealer.
Well, but she kind of
come back to life. She realizes.
But she still walked up to Artie and was kind of like he got really close, and I thought she would be like, "Oh, wait a minute, I've seen this before. I know how this turns out. Right. It involves my son in a truck, and but but she doesn't. She still kind of like tries to talk him down. So you've got two things. You got this leap of logic, but then you also have not learning from your past mistakes. I thought it was kind of funny Tobias suddenly showing up at an empty school for his gimpy little knife, but
well, no, he's there to get food. He came to get the knife too, but
okay. And that's the other thing too, is that when he takes her to stock up, you're basically raiding the stores of your school, but again, for what? Like so Tobias or anybody, every time there's going to be a epidemic or a massive flu, you're immediately going to like start stealing from the school. I mean,
I don't know. I think you're being a little harsh, because I think that character Maddie has now had her son report that he watched someone eat the face off of someone else and be like this terror thing. She didn't believe him, but then she experiences at the end of last episode the whole situation with the drug dealer and sees this reincarnated dead thing coming back to life, and
that she still doesn't understand.
But now she probably believes him. So now she's got that. Then she goes and goes to steal from the school for that stuff because she thinks she's got to get out of Dodge.
And I would give you all over. And I would give you that if after she bludgeons him with a fire extinguisher, she's kind of standing there like, what the F just happened here? What's going on here? And Tobias is like, look, it's X, Y, and Z. And she doesn't make that process though. There's not that. So, and I get that it's the show where they're not laying out A, B, C, D. They're kind of going A to D and letting you fill in B and C in the middle.
Yeah.
But again, there's that realism that you have the potential to do, and that you did pretty well in this second episode. There's that realism that you lend. So when you're watching this, it becomes horror. It becomes true horror because you're like, dude, I can see that happening. See,
I just don't agree, because I think she's there to loot the drugs. So she's already in the same state of mind pretty much that Tobias is in. She's not worried about food right now because she's worried about her son and the drug addiction and getting off, going cold turkey. He's like moved on to, being a prepper already. What do they call those? Prepper?
Doomsday prep? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Remember that show? Preppers? Yeah, whatever. And,
yeah, right. You said, what are those guys? It's only on my DVR. I've seen every episode.
I have 2 DVRs, one that's just filled with that. But, so... Yeah, I know. To me, she was accepting of what he was trying to do, because basically she's in the same state of mind. She's there already doing that, and
which I got to ask: how many schools have Vicodin sitting in?
Well, I guess it was stuff that had been confiscated. It was, but I don't know why they would keep it at the school. I would think they would dispose of it or turn it into the police or whatever. But yeah, no, that was a little. Maybe they keep it for the teacher lounge.
Maybe that's where she was, the teacher lounge.
Yeah. And what was up with the taped body on the ground?
Oh, yeah.
What was up with that? What nurse's office in a high school has that?
I couldn't tell if that was...
That's not a good sign. If the high school you go to, the nurse's office has a dead body taped off on the ground, not a good sign.
But I couldn't tell if that was the nurse's room, if that was the storage for confiscated items, if that was like the NCIS class lab. I couldn't tell what that was.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was a security department. I don't know. I thought it was the nurse's office, but
yeah. So those were just my big ones. Just my big bads were just the leap in logic that we have this, and without checking to see if there's anything else, if there's any other news around the world, right, that we immediately go to, we need to go to the desert.
Well, I understand that complaint. It didn't bother me as much as it did you, but on a very similar vein, the lack of communication. And this is a criticism I have of the main show, of the Walking Dead show as well. And we've talked about this before. Like, for instance, why doesn't Travis explain to his ex-wife what he's witnessed?
Right.
And why he then wants to find Chris? Why do you just keep saying it's complicated, I'll tell you later?
Yeah.
Hello, I watched a dead person get up and, reanimate. My other son has seen people's faces being eaten. Things are getting nuts. We have to get Chris. It just takes one more second, but you don't explain it. So there's this confusion. They come home. They don't tell those poor people who are about to have the party what they've seen. If you came home after seeing that shit, you wouldn't tell your neighbor who was about to set up a big kiddie party that you just saw what you saw and that it may be connected to this flu that's going around. And the last thing you should be doing is having people over your house. You know what I mean? I mean, that just...
What did she see?
Maddie doesn't even explain to the daughter, to Alicia, or what, Allison.
Yeah,
Alicia. She doesn't even explain to her what she's seen.
Yeah.
That daughter has no idea what the parents have seen.
What did Chris's mom see at the rally where all of a sudden she turned and she was like, "Listen to your father, we need to go." There was something where she saw something. Was it? Did she?
She saw the dead, the carcass of the dead homeless person.
Okay,
I think.
For some reason, that just reminded me of the scene in Jaws when Sheriff Brody's sitting there and he's reading about sharks and his wife comes in and she sits down next to him and he's like, "Where are the kids?" "Oh, they're out in the boat." "Where's Michael and Sean?" "Oh, they're out in the boat." "Oh, you got to get them out of the boat." He tells the kid, "Oh," and she's like, "Honey, don't worry about it. It's a boat. It's fine. It's no big deal." And he's just kind of like, "Yeah, okay." And then she flips through the book, the book of sharks, and she sees like, a shark attack victim, and she's like, "Michael, you get out of that boat right now." It was just like exact same scene. It was just like there was that one image that she sees, and suddenly she's.
I think it was that. Out of it. But the other, in that same sequence, there's another faux pas. If you ask me, there's a zombie girl who walks up to the policeman,
the female cop,
right, and she shoots it in the chest,
and
it slumps over and drops down on the ground.
Yeah.
Hello, the zombie's going to keep coming,
right?
Unless it was like a magnum and it knocks it backwards and off its feet,
which it didn't do.
No, it just slowly crumpled to the ground forward. You know what I mean? A headshot, fine, but that wasn't a headshot. You saw the explosion on the chest. So little things like that, they've got to get a little bit more.
Well, the zombie apocalypse is still kind of working out the tweaks,
Yeah.
Kind of.
I don't know. To me, that's
zombie apocalypse 1.0. We don't quite get to 2.0
yet. Once again, we get. Okay. Here's. This is a big beef that I can't believe I'm already having to bring up, and you're going to probably be all over me for this. But here you've got a brand new series to start with from scratch. Wouldn't you think that they would try to address some of the few, and there's very few big foibles or big sore spots from the main series? And one of those sore spots, in my opinion, in the main series, has been the use of black characters, black main characters, and black characters dying, and they're just starting the same thing right from the beginning. You've got and it's like, I'm sorry, but if you have you don't introduce. You're not progressive or diversified just because you have an interracial couple. If you're going to turn around and kill the black guy in that couple within one episode, that's not being diversified or, So
Matt is the T-Dog of how long did T-Dog last in The Walking Dead?
And then you've got the principal.
Oh yeah.
Then you've got the drug dealer.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah. All three of the main deaths have been black men.
Wow.
And there's no black men or women in the main cast. Lots of Latino. I think the Travis is supposed to be Latino. They got the Barber's family now is Latino. Chris is Latino. I think his first wife is Latino.
You know where she's from, right?
No.
Orange is the New Black. You watch it?
I don't watch that show. I should.
You should.
So and then when they
That's a good point.
When they had Matt and they had this actor from The Wire, he's so good. and they had this phenomena that they've been accused of in the main show. I thought he's gone missing, but they're gonna bring him back. He's gonna be a main part of the show. No, he's dead. So I'm thinking this has got to be an AMC issue because Kirkman's books are very diversified.
Yep.
The black characters are as integral to the storyline as the white characters. They die no more frequently than the white ones. And, some of them have been there from the beginning, like Michonne. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not Kirkman. It's got to be AMC. And I'm really, really, really disappointed. I really am. Really disappointed. Anyway, I thought that the intro, the music, I thought I have a love-hate with the music for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they've worked that out yet.
I agree. Yep.
It's real inconsistent. Sometimes, like, the intro music is good. It's weird. It's rocky, but it's rough and a little bit haunting too. It's edgy. I like that. But the intro itself is lame. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there compared to, like, when you think of the Walking Dead intro and they have those black and white images of sets or scenes, this broken windows and the zombie eye and the pictures of Rick's family broken and it's really cool visually to even watch. Mm-hmm. And that just I can't even remember what the Fear of the Walking Dead is. All I know is that opening credit scene not opening credit, but the opening logo scene and the music with that is cool. But then the intro itself just kind of, I don't even remember it. So, and then the music throughout the episode, sometimes it really fits the scene and is really good and edgy, and other times it just seems horrible.
Yeah, it's no Bear McCreary
no.
like they've got with Walking Dead, and that's too bad. It really, because it could really use that.
And it doesn't. I mean, I agree, and it doesn't have to be Barry, but it needs to be somebody needs to be writing a score for this, mm-hmm. and then you bring in other types of music to punctuate a scene at the mm-hmm. Not a lot, but a little bit here and there, and but overall there's this consistent music theme. And you just don't have it, and it's amazing how powerful that is, because I think The Walking Dead does a great job of that. I don't know if you're not. I don't think you're a Doctor Who fan, but the series, especially when Matt Smith took over as the Doctor, the musical scores, and that's all I can call it. They were scores. I mean, they just added everything to that show. And then when they changed, I think, characters or went to a new doctor, they changed the music approach, and it's just doesn't help at all. So music is really, really important to a show, and I don't think they've found their niche yet. I think they over foreshadowed the principal.
Yeah,
like 2 or 3 times in the first episode, and then
in the beginning of this episode,
slow mo as if he's already a zombie. It was kind of like, dude, we know this guy's going to become a zombie, right? I mean, it's like,
might as well just throw a red shirt on him and call it a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, the other son, Chris.
Yeah,
wet blanket.
Oh, yeah,
they got no love for him.
Yeah, no, there's nothing there.
Definitely not enough Nick in this episode.
No.
Definitely not enough Nick.
But the other thing too is that he went cold turkey for 20 minutes.
Well, I don't think he's done, but
okay. I'm not sure if he's done either. I don't know if but everything I've seen is it takes a while. And
yeah. That's not an overnight affair.
Yeah.
But they've also got him drugs now to wean him off.
Yeah.
She got him Vicodin or something. Yeah.
Yeah, from the school.
From the teacher's lounge with the dead body marked off. So what was your ugly?
So my ugly is just it's a good ugly. I went with a good ugly one. That's just the ramping up of the tension between again, just to back up, I thought that the riots at the end, this is LA, where they riot because their team won a championship. So the fact that you're rioting over this I don't believe that your next jump is to, this is the new paradigm of society. We've got to get out and blah, blah, blah. So but the whole, when you go to the last hauntings, the last scene where you see Artie dead in the hallway of the school, and then you go to, there was another image, and then you see the image of the burning car in the street.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was just a really haunting ending. That, and whose music was that on the end of that? Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to look it up real quick. But like the music that was on the end of that too, and it just was. It kind of really cemented home that, okay, here's our paradigm shift. This is the moment where society really takes a turn for the worse. And there was I'm sorry, but there was nothing more haunting about that episode than the scenes that had the party for the little girl across the street.
Yeah.
Like from the beginning when it's like, boy, we hope people show up, to the end when
it's all deflated.
Oh yeah.
and there's a zombie on top of the mother. And,
I know what the other image was. The other image was we see Artie. The next image is the back of the neighbor's car when he was loading the stuff up, but not all the stuff's been loaded in the car. It's just sitting there.
Right. He didn't get to finish.
Yeah. So it was, again, slow burn, a little bit faster than the first episode, and it just seemed the focus was less on the family dynamic that dominated episode 1 and more about the events that are starting to turn everything over.
Right. Well, part of that's because they did something similar to what you were suggesting in the first episode, or the discussion of the first episode.
Like an hour ago.
They did it, what?
Like an hour ago.
Yeah. It was way past my bedtime. And though they did it obviously with the family because they're staying with that theme as opposed to being other people, but they split the group up.
Mm-hmm.
You've got now 2 or 3 groups of people in different areas, and I agree. So you had different stories kind of going on simultaneously. You had the daughter going to the boyfriend's house. You've got the hunt for Chris. Then they get stuck in with the barber people, and then you've got Maddie, and then Maddie with the daughter and the son. But then she goes off to the school, and so everybody's kind of getting split off, which I think made it more intense and interesting. I forgot one other good. Which was you brought it up, the cop putting the water in the car. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really, really well done scene. Just the way they did it, where he's pulling through the gas station to cut away the traffic, which is a no-no, mm-hmm. right? And any cop who sees you doing that is going to pull you over and say, you can't do that or whatever. But this guy could care less. He's more worried about the fact that he's stopped and is looking at him and sees that he's, stealing the water. And he realizes if the cops are stealing water, holy shit, this is, a whole new world of crazy. Mm-hmm. And that was awesome. They kept the shot on that water for a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. And then he shuts the thing and it's car 13. And they kept the camera on that for a little bit of time. My prediction is, how good we are at predictions. That car is coming back. That cop car is coming back. Okay. That water is going to save them at some point or somewhere down the road. That cop car is coming back. So that was one good I wanted to talk about. I forgot. Another bad that I missed or to talk about was, why didn't they bring the food after all they went through at the goddamn school? I mean, granted, it was horrible what she had to do to Artie, and it was saved Tobias' life, and they got to get out. But they brought the food that far. Just carry it out the door and stick it in the car.
Here's my question.
They just dropped it all and ran.
Here's my question. We'll call this Tuesday. Why are they ransacking the freezer at the school and you just don't go to Stop and Shop?
Well, he made some comment about that. Made some comment about how the food the school food is canned and made to last for a long time because, they have large quantities of it and it sits there the whole year while they access it when they need it. He made some comment about that. They tried to explain that away.
Because I think that's
Plus,
called
you got to
aisle. I
figure
think
all
that's
those
called
kind of
aisle
places.
8, though. Campbell's soup and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. You got to figure though that those places will be the first places people are hitting. No one's going to go to the school to get food. So in that sense, there's less competition for the stuff. My ugly basically agreed was the same as yours. It's a positive. I thought it was a great improvement over the pilot episode. I loved the intensifying of the chaos, the clear breaking down of society. Was really well done. We've talked about it verbatim, so I won't drag on.
That's unlike you.
I know, right? So yeah, that's basically that was. I was just pleasantly surprised, or not surprised, but pleasantly,
Now, one thing I do want to clarify is that I like the fact that and I think it adds to the horror aspect of it. Even though I say that realistically they should be turning to social media, they should be turning to the internet, TV, whatever. What's going on out there? I like the fact that you are, whether you're at that rally in the, where Chris is at, which is basically those people there are under the impression that they're rallying against the cops who just shot an unarmed homeless man for no reason, right? Everybody's kind of in the dark, so you don't know why this is, why this is happening. And I know there's some people on the internet that have been, they want more definitive. They want to, there should be a report. The CDC should be putting out. No. It's more real and it's more horrible, and it hits closer to home when something happens and you don't have an answer for, and it's all we know is that we'll take everyday instance that we're used to is the stomach flu is going around. Well, okay, that's what everybody says it is, but how do you know it's not something bigger? So I like the fact that there's not a definitive thing. There wasn't a toxic gas leak off of,
right
here, or this is doing this.
They do a call out though, and not a call out, but they do make one kind of not insinuation. There's a little comment in the beginning when Artie says to Maddie about, I thought you were another victim called maybe going to be sick, because they've got so many kids calling sick. And she says, no, I got my flu shot.
Yeah.
And there's some people I've read have been like, maybe it was the flu shot that caused this to, because everybody gets a flu shot and then spread it. I don't know. But no, I agree. I think it's good that they've kind of kept us in the dark. I think also that people who are saying that, the CDC should make an announcement, or the authorities this and the authorities that in a real situation, but we've been trained and conditioned to think that that's what's going to happen. We all hope that that's what's going to happen. I think what makes The Walking Dead so scary is that here's a scenario and it doesn't happen. They're not there. They don't come through. Mm-hmm. They're not on top of it. They don't react the way we think they're going to, and what would happen in that scenario.
Right.
So, so we got two letters, one from Laura Wilswink and one from Thomas Reese. Thomas writes, I'm giving so close yet so far a respectable 4.2 stabs of the Tobias sissy-ass steak knife. He says, I love this show. Last week I wasn't completely sold, but after last night they got me. It feels like the more responsible and successful younger brother of The Walking Dead. The show feels more realistic, the acting's great, the pacing, the visual aesthetic, the directing, the story, it's all great, and there's something about us as the audience knowing more than the characters that makes the show more satisfying. I have to agree that's kind of cool. We talked about that in the pilot, when you heard the guy, choking to death or breathing like he was dying next to him in the bed. It's because we know what's coming that it made that much more intense. The only thing that pisses me off is the damn kids. We're in the midst of the apocalypse and we got a junkie detoxing, a dumbass packing her iPod for the end of the world and taking her zombie boyfriend's soup, and a sissy starting a riot instead of listening to his parents. Even the damn birthday party. I've never been so terrified at the sight of a jump house. It's so true. It's all the kids' fault except Tobias. He's on top of his game. Zombie kill of the week, Obama Z. I kept saying it over and over in different variations until my wife called me a freak and told me to shut up. He did look a little like Obama. Character of the week, Maddie. Predictions, Maddie's the Rick of the show. Makes sense. The Walking Dead is always trying to push the envelope, and what better way than having a woman as the main protagonist? Look at Michonne and Carol. Hell, look at Barbara. They're coming to get you, Barbara. It makes sense. Thank you, Thomas, for writing in.
Yeah, and Thomas, thank you for your little meme that you put on the Facebook page. It's pretty funny. It's a. If you haven't seen the Facebook page, it's a 4-shot, like one clip of Carl and Rick, and it says in the first one, it's Fear starts this Sunday. So new biters on Monday? No, Dad. Tuesday? Depends on their schedules. Wednesday? Probably Thursday after 10 p.m. That's bullshit. That was awesome.
That was awesome. And last week it was completely off. We didn't even make Thursday last week. All right, Laura says, welcome back to Zombieland. Since I know you guys will cover a good part of the show, I'll just give my overall opinion and observations from the first 2 episodes. I felt the pilot episode was 20 minutes too long. Totally agree. And this Sunday's episode was 20 minutes too short. That's an interesting take. Yeah. Just as soon as things were heating up, it ended, leaving me wanting more. Whereas in the pilot, I did look at the clock once or twice, and though I didn't have the same WTF, this is amazing reaction that I got from the pilot of The Walking Dead, the show is keeping me entertained and engaged more than many other shows out there. Yeah, I want to echo that. You know, we pointed out a lot of bads and criticisms along with the things that we liked, but overall, I still like it. I mean, I still think it's a good show, and I'm enjoying it. You know,
the fact that it's gotten better, you know, week over week is
a good sign.
Yeah, hopefully it's a good sign. And I think we both basically said that we didn't hate the pilot. We didn't necessarily love it, but it was good.
I really like the character of Nick. I think he was rocking his girlfriend Gloria's shirt in the first scene, and then looked so sad and bumbling in his old man's clothes later on. That's so true. That was great. I just want him to keep stealing other people's clothing for the rest of the season. And I'm warming to Madison. She's a realistic, no-nonsense female character and a tough mama bear who fights for her family. Still not totally invested in the other characters, but the story is compelling enough to keep me. What I find most interesting is how society is falling apart with no real understanding of what's going on. A mysterious sickness is going around. Everyone passes it off as the flu. The public is seeing leaked video of supposedly deceased persons being shot down, getting blown off as a hoax. People are in the streets rioting, not because the dead are rising, because it's supposedly police brutality unchecked. Even when the lights and phones start to go out, they say it's like when the earthquakes hit. No one is pinpointing the real problem, and society in general may fall not because of the dead, but because of the overall ignorance and denial. Yeah, I think that you know that there's something to that for sure. You know, I think, but that's to me what made Maddie's conversion in this episode and character development so much stronger. You know, because a lot of the world is still, you know, not seeing things, and she finally sees things. You know, she sees it now. Some observations. When Madison is talking about Nick's drug problem, she says it's in the genes. So I wonder if she's referring to an addiction problem of her own or maybe her late husband's. So Laura had the same thought. Also, it's my guess that Gloria must have died from an overdose and then turned and went on a feasting spree, thus the knife in her gut from another junkie trying to defend himself. But as painful as it would be, I don't think you die from getting your face bitten off. So how did she kill at least 2 other junkies so quickly? And why didn't she chomp on Nick first, since he was lying next to her? Oh, well, details. Still enjoying the show. Yeah, that was, you know, if she, who's to say she didn't get up and then walk out of the room hours ago and then, you know, die from an overdose or whatever there and then wake up a zombie or turn into a zombie while she, you know what I mean? She may not have turned right while she was with him.
That, you know, the other thing too is that church might exist in, you know, like in Lost. It exists in something that's not in this plane of reality. Okay. So, sorry, just had to. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know. Oversight on the production part, probably. Who knows? Like you said, they're probably still trying to figure out. It's Zombie Apocalypse 1.0, and the canon, the tropes aren't quite established for this universe yet, so they're just kind of working the kinks out. Leslie Cox said she's unable to contribute to the program because she doesn't have the channel and can't afford to pay the extra. So hopefully, Leslie, you've been listening to this, and we've painted a decent picture of what you're missing. So.
I think that about covers it. We've got next week off.
Not just us, the show as well. We're not just taking
Oh man, can you imagine trying to do 2 episodes every time?
Thomas, don't send another meme about us not being on.
Don't meme me, bro. Don't meme me, bro.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's 11:30. We started at 9:15.
It's 2:06. That might be a record for us.
Wow. All right. So then that's not a record, though. I understand. I guess we've done longer.
Really?
Somebody pointed out because I was saying how it would be the longest, but I guess we've done longer.
All right. Well, hopefully we've been entertained, everybody, for over 2 hours, and we are back, hopefully on schedule. We'll keep to the schedule for as long as we can, which probably will be a week. And
next week I will try. Not next week. 2 weeks from now, I'll try to live tweet, and then I'll be able to get back to having our live tweets of the week, which was always fun. We probably need to get back to, now that we're getting more zombies, we can get back to our zombie kill of the week, which we haven't had. But there's only been like 1 or 2 kills per episode, so there's a lot to choose from. But also, if you want to follow us on Facebook, you can do so at, I guess, what's that? Just Facebook Biters, right? Biters Podcast, or is it just Biters?
It's Biters Podcast.
And then Jake
it's Biters, the Walking Dead podcast.
And Jeff is on Twitter at jmarzik, and I'm on Twitter at BatmanKM, and you can follow us there. You can check out my Walking Dead artwork at my Deviant page, which is just search Batman KM, and I've got all the Walking Dead art there. What's that
website though? Is it deviantart.com?
Yep. I don't think I might be .org. Not positive. I think it's .com. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything for Fear the Walking Dead, but maybe I'll do a single to encapsulate the first season. I don't know
if you got time. You got a comic book to put together.
It's true. That leads to the next thing. We'll be at exhibiting at NYCC in October, and fingers crossed we'll have a new Z-Girl and the Four Tigers book. Working on it now diligently, and we'll see how that comes. And what else can we tell people?
Check out the cool Z-Girl action figure.
Oh man, she's unbelievable. We got actual copies of it. And we had it at the Connecticut and then we had it at Walker Stalker, and it's impressive. It's really wild.
So you can order that off our website as well.
Yep.
All right, I think that's all we got.
Thanks everybody for your patience with our long hiatus, and hopefully we're back for the rest of the season now. Actually, when does this season end?
Well, it's
16 episodes, including the pilot. Is that right? 15. Because I know the second season they ordered 15.
Yeah. No, the first part is only it's only 6 episodes.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's 6 episodes because it goes until the 4th, because then on the 11th is when Walking Dead starts.
So it's right up until wow.
Yeah.
So that means we're only 6 weeks away?
Yeah.
From the, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to stay up and draw. That book is never going to get done.
Oh, no. Yeah, because, October 11th, when Walking Dead is, that's the last day of New York Comic Con.
Yep.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Write into us on Facebook and let us know your comments.
Give us your thoughts on the episode. We'll read it, and it helps make the show richer. So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Take care. Bye-bye.